dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together. How can we possibly have the slightest idea of what to expect?
Hello, and welcome back to the NeoJurassic podcast. I'm your host, Bry, and I'm sincerely so grateful you've decided to tune into another episode. Due to a technical situation I'll get into in greater length shortly, this episode will be a little similar to the previous episode, in that the bulk of the show will be a conversation between myself and another individual exploring that fascinating intersection between paleozoology and art. Gabriel Ugueto is unquestionably one of the most in-demand paleoartists working today, and for very good reason. Looking at his reconstructions, I often find myself forgetting that these animals are actually extinct. It's almost as if Gabriel has a time machine and he's been painstakingly building an exhaustive field guide of extinct life for the rest of us to enjoy here in the 21st century. Although he may not have a time machine, he is indeed hard at work assembling a field guide of what many would argue is the strangest period in vertebrate history, the Triassic. The Triassic was kind of like the Earth's weird experimental album that introduced the dinosaurs before they spun off onto their own very successful solo career, while many of their peers, vanished into extinction. When he's not hard at work on his upcoming books, Gabriel is extremely busy with commissions. Notably, last October, he was responsible for many of the illustrations featured in National Geographic's incredible Reimagining Dinosaurs issue. Late last year, Gabriel was generous enough to join the show for a quick chat concerning his relationship with the Jurassic franchise, the dire state of scientific literacy in 2020, and what he'd most like to see in the future of Jurassic. However, before we dive into our conversation, I've got some somewhat frustrating news to share with y'all. My computer is just about toast. It's given me nearly 7 good years, but this old gray mare ain't what she used to be. Last week, I wasn't able to upload a new episode of the podcast because it took literally 5 days to render one video version of the show for YouTube. It's been a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, but I will soon be upgrading to a new laptop that will enable me to not only produce much more content, but will open all sorts of exciting possibilities, particularly as I get more and more involved with things like video production. So early next week, I'll be launching the NeoJurassic Podcast's Patreon. There will be 6 tiers ranging from $1 to $20 a month, and once the new computer arrives, I'll be generating all sorts of fun membership exclusives for the varying tiers. If you've enjoyed the show so far, and I really hope you have, and would like to support efforts towards improving and growing the show even further, please consider becoming a member. From composing the music, writing, hosting, and generating all of the visuals, it's been an absolute joy to produce, and I really believe there's a great deal of potential in the future of the show. Regardless, at the end of the day, I am so grateful for those of y'all that are even just listening at all, and I'm acutely aware that these have been weird, spooky, and uncertain times for many of us, certainly me, and patronage of yet another podcast project is unlikely to be too much of a priority for many of you. All the same, any support you can offer, be it reviews, shares, subscriptions, feedback, patronage, donations, is all very, very, very much appreciated. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's dive into our conversation with herpetologist and renowned paleoartist Gabriel Ugueto. Gabriel, thank you so much for hopping in here for a minute. I really, 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 really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, I'm sorry it's been difficult to schedule, but right now, things are hectic for everybody, and I'm having so much work recently that it's very difficult to schedule my time properly.
I can imagine, and I really, really appreciate it. You're working on the Triassic and Jurassic books currently, right?
Well,
among other things.
Yeah. That's the lead. I'm barely working on that because that's a personal project. So with all the commissions and everything, I barely have time to work on that. But yeah, I decided to actually divide my book into 3, and the first one is going to be just about the Triassic, because otherwise it will take me too long, to publish anything. So I decided to just focus on the Triassic for the first book.
That's so exciting. So let's jump right into the questions here. So you are a paleoartist and a science illustrator. How did that manifest for you professionally?
Well, I'm a traditional artist and I'm an illustrator first and foremost. But I've always been interested in animals, and I worked as a herpetologist for a while, for several years. And herpetology is the branch of zoology that studies amphibians and reptiles. And so when I was publishing papers and describing species and stuff, a lot of the times, you have to include figures of the head, of the squamation of the head of a certain species that you're describing or something like that. And I will end up doing those myself. And I started getting colleagues telling me, like, oh, why don't you do the illustration for this? Because we don't have photos of this animal, its appearance in life. Why don't you do that and that? So, one thing led to the other. And I started working full time as a scientific illustrator. And then that, because I've always been interested in dinosaurs, and it's a big part of the scientific illustration world. One thing led to the other, and I ended up, doing paleoart, which I love because I've always been in love with extinct animals. And I think the other big branch of scientific illustration is medical illustration, and I don't like that at all. So now I was never going to go into that.
Yeah, you're really limited to those two things ultimately.
Well, I mean, no, but those are the big two.
Yeah.
The ones that have the more
the demand and the need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it really does seem to me, again, my perception's a little warped, but it seems like there's, in addition to like a paleontological renaissance, there's like a major surge happening in just the world of paleoart as well, it feels.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of people right now, amazing artists, creating a lot of art. I mean, paleo art, partly because what you said. I mean, we live in a golden age of paleontology. We are describing more species now than ever, and also we know more thanks to new techniques. We know more now about dinosaurs and other extinct animals than ever before. I mean, if you would have told me, I don't know, 15 years ago that we would know what coloration certain dinosaur species would have, I would have told you, no, that's impossible. We will never know. But here we are, and we know the probable coloration of several species, not only one or two, but several.
It's the best time ever to be a dinosaur fan, I think. It's just like, I mean, at least for me, who's someone who seeks out information and art on these extinct animals all day long, it's just been like a delight to learn these new things and see these interpretations. It's like a paradise in a way.
I completely agree.
And it's also interesting because, I mean, this podcast that I'm working on currently is about people's relationship to the Jurassic franchise, which is the most significant and successful applications of paleo art I can imagine. Granted, it's stuck in these like nostalgic ideas of what these animals were and looked like, but for most people on the planet, Jurassic Park is almost synonymous with dinosaurs, for better or worse.
Mostly for worse.
Mostly. Yeah. And there's like an effort underway with the Jurassic franchise to incorporate more scientific accuracy and going into, they're trying to be better about it. And at the same time, like, they're doing television series and new video games and new toys. I mean, they're just exploding the brand into all these places. And so the opportunity for things to go right or wrong has never been higher. And I just think it's interesting that at this moment we have this surge in paleo art producing these beautiful animals in all sorts of naturalistic ways. And I would love to be able to incorporate those two worlds, as I'm sure you would, to push any way we can to getting more of consistency in people's idea of what these animals were.
Well, yeah, I mean, and also I think it's important and I hope that there is a mass consumed media soon that portray dinosaurs and other extinct animals, not only dinosaurs, but extinct animals in general, as animals, and not as some,
Dragons.
not as kaiju monsters, or it's very important that people see them as animals. That not necessarily have to be running around screaming and always portrayed with their mouth open and in aggressive poses. They were doing other things like sleeping and just doing display for their mates, or territorial displays or stuff like that are very or more interesting, in my point of view.
Absolutely. And your background again was in herpetology. How do you feel your experience with reptiles? I mean, I grew up having an exotic pet store as a kid, so I was just surrounded by all these exotic animals growing up. How does your relationship with your love of reptiles, how do you think that's influenced your commitment to these naturalistic expressions of what these animals may have been, if at all?
Yes, I think in my case, it's been fundamental. Having a scientific background from the world of herpetology, and having been able to know deeply the anatomy and the biology of extant reptiles and amphibians has been extremely useful, because I think I approach reconstructions of extinct animals from a more naturalistic perspective. I think I would like to think that. I think that it has definitely helped me a lot, and sometimes when I'm reconstructing an animal, I can see what the sort of parallel of that animal would be in the world of today, and it helps me envision them from a different perspective, I think.
Absolutely. So again, for me, when people, like growing up in the 90s, like people would talk about lizards and snakes as these terrifying things. And then you see them in the media and they're always portrayed as these like venomous monsters that are just waiting to attack humans in some way. And I can't help but feel like that has just been pushed onto the idea of what dinosaurs are. It's this alien foreign thing. It's not furry or fluffy, so it's therefore, other and a threat.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and you still see it. You still hear it often today. When you're watching a TV show, not that I watch anything on Discover or Animal Planet because they suck.
Yeah.
But when you watch a TV show and then all of a sudden they mention something like alligator infested swamps. No,
Yeah.
What does that even mean? I mean, it's really, I hate it. I think it's a big problem, and yes, a big part of that translates into dinosaurs. Even when the closest thing to dinosaurs are birds, and people don't think of birds that way. I mean,
birds have a different problem. Birds are just constantly, disregarded as dumb, bird brain pigeons, essentially. Like in the same way that reptiles are imbued with like fear and menace, birds are given this idea that they're just these brainless, fluffy automatons.
Yeah, and I think that's nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, when you have animals like crows or parrots that are as smart as primates,
Yeah.
I guess it's also our jobs as scientific communicators to communicate that to the general public, and I think that that's a big part of why I think paleo art is important, because is our job to translate the scientific, the new scientific theories and discoveries to the general masses. A lot of times people will know about certain new discoveries just by an illustration they saw, or an article they read, on a popular article they read, or a new thing that they saw in a movie. And that's why it's important to portray the correct things on those media.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting. You were talking about how Animal Planet and Discovery Channel are completely bereft of any valuable programming that actually informs the public or shares some information. It's all just, crap. I mean, the History Channel is like Ancient Aliens and all this nonsense. I don't think there's ever been more of a time where we need more acceptance and celebration and amplification of real science in this world. I think.
Yes, and to be honest, I don't understand what the reasoning for that, for these channels to keep producing these kinds of shows is. Yes, they have a big audience, but I noticed that there's also a huge audience that is craving, better programming, in the sense of more scientifically accurate, more research, serious programming. Because you have stuff like when Netflix did One Planet, or all the documentaries from BBC, they have huge audiences. So there is a market for that, and there are people that want to see that. Or
Walking with Dinosaurs was a huge, huge success back in the late 90s.
Exactly, and I think there's obviously an audience for that. So I don't really understand their reasoning for them not wanting to. Of course, probably, it takes more money and more research to do those kind of shows, than to have, just crazy people talking about whatever. But I think that it's not for a lack of engagement of the audience. I think that there would be probably a large chunk of people that would like to see it. I'm not sure what the numbers are, but I would think that there is definitely a market for it.
Absolutely. So speaking of things that you would like to see, if you had any fantasy situation in which you could contribute something to the Jurassic franchise, what would you most want to see them attempt moving forward?
Oh God! Like, you mean like to portray dinosaurs in a different?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important. It's very important for them to portray at least one sort of dromaeosaur with feathers, because at this point, we know. So, I mean, like, almost 100% convinced that all dromaeosaurs had some feather covering, and I think that it would be so refreshing to see a good representation of a large dromaeosaur with feathers, with large pennaceous feathers on the arms, and those things. I would love to see that. I think it will definitely set that image in a lot of people's mind, which many of them still believe that they didn't have feathers, or don't even know that. So, yeah.
Now is the time where we really need to double down on science and the reality of what these animals were, I feel.
Definitely. I mean, I believe we have to, as a society, we have to focus on science so much right now. It's sorely needed. It helps people also discerning what's right from what's true from false.
Right.
And that's something we need, so much right now. So
would you, if you could pick the large dromaeosaurid to put in a Jurassic movie, which one do you think you'd choose?
Well, based on size, it would have to be something. I mean, if people want to see something the size of the velociraptors they have in the movie, it would have to be something like Utahraptor, or a Kilobator, or Dakota Raptor, if that is not a chimera, and probably something even like a large Deinonychus. I mean, people think of. I did a reconstruction of Deinonychus not long ago, and I think a lot of people that know that Deinonychus is smaller than the Velociraptor that appears in the Jurassic Park movies, but it was not a small animal by any means. It was it was the larger than a tiger. I mean, tiger size. It's not that, I would not call that a small animal.
No.
So I think that yes, it's smaller than the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. It's smaller than Utahraptor and Achilovator and all those, but it's still a huge, uh, impressive animal. And anybody that have seen a large bird like I'm not going to say like an ostrich, but like a cassowary, for example,
Yeah.
knows how impressive that animal can be when you are right in front of them. So
Oh, absolutely.
I think that would help. Even if you do it like a normal size Deinonychus, it will help people see it as, oh, this is still a very impressive, perhaps even fear-inducing animal.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you feel about the rest of their theropods? Like, I mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah.
I must confess, I'm not a fan of the Jurassic Park franchise. I was a fan of the first movie.
And what is your relationship with it? Because you were born in Venezuela, right?
Yes.
And then how long did you live there?
I lived there until I was 20, and until my my very early 20s. And I remember watching the movie, going to the movie theater when I was a kid, and seeing it, and being in love with it. And I loved it, and I saw it several times, and I still think it's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's dated, but you cannot really blame him for that.
Right.
Back then there was already evidence that things like velociraptors were feathered, but it was still fairly new, and you cannot really blame them for not wanting to include that.
Yeah.
Back then, the Tyrannosaurus looked good for what we knew back then.
Yeah.
So I have no real problem, and in general, it's a good movie. It's a good action film. It has a good story if you want to see it from that perspective. The problem, I mean, of course, it has some things that we know are not true, like the bad vision of the Tyrannosaurus and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good movie. The problem is what came afterwards. I mean, I haven't even seen the entire of the latest films. I haven't seen the entire film. I have seen bits and pieces, because it's just, I go like it's complaining all the time, and I'm not gonna subject myself or others around me to that.
Yeah, I can respect that. How do you think that the brand and that aesthetic can move forward, if at all? Like how can they start to incorporate real science from the place that they are now? How can they do better?
Well, do you think they really want to? I mean, do you think that they feel like there's a need for it? I don't.
I think that increasingly they're coming to understand two things. One, that the Jurassic brand is beloved by many people for a particular reason. And I think increasingly they're discovering not only do people really love these movies for the dinosaurs and for the attempt to bring these things to life in a seemingly real way, and that's a major value that they need to pursue. And I think just looking at the state of the world right now, and everyone just turning to what's entertaining rather than what's based in reality, I feel like they are aware of an obligation that they have in some small way to push in that direction more, if not only to satisfy, the fact that these movies are for dinosaur lovers, but just out of a minimal of obligation to do better where they can in this global effort to support science and facts and reality.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that they are looking at it that way. That would, I mean, if they are willing to put a little bit more effort in the way they reconstruct their animals, and yeah, that would be great. I do think that having a more accurate vision of dinosaurs through the Jurassic Park franchise would help the general audiences understand where we now know about dinosaurs. That's why I think like the latest issue of National Geographic magazine, what it has all these new discoveries about dinosaurs and how we look at them now. I think things like that are super important because and I'm not saying that the Jurassic Park franchise have to be, because it's at the end it's an entertainment franchise. Right. So I don't, it's not that they have to be like a scientific documentary, but it would be cool if they will, things that we know for sure now. I mean, that we know that are pretty well established. There's nothing wrong with including that, and actually, I would think it's better to include that. And also, I wouldn't mind if they paid a little bit more attention into how they reconstruct their animals so they actually look like the actual animal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm hopeful that will change. I know I can tell you that there will be at least one species of feathered dromaeosaur in the new Jurassic World movie, and they've done a Lystrosaurus, and they're trying to expand and embrace more scientific accuracy with these animals.
I saw the Lystrosaurus on Twitter, and I thought it was a great addition. So
yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic from what I've been hearing of the way things are going over there. I'm really hoping that they manage to redeem themselves a little bit.
I would love to see a feathered dromaeosaur for sure.
Yeah, and is there any other species of Mesozoic animal that you'd like to see in one of these bombastic blockbuster movies?
Sure. I mean, there's so many. Where do you begin? There are so many cool animals that it would be amazing for them to include.
What would be your top three?
Oh, that's difficult. Well, dinosaurs or
Mesozoic animals. Mesozoic.
Well, definitely a long neck plesiosaur. That would be cool to see. That's a recipe for disaster because we still have so many controversies onto how it moved, how they moved and all that. But yes,
yeah, were they blubbery seal pockets? Were they snakes on seal bodies? It's like what was happening?
How they move their flippers and all that.
Yeah,
that's very contentious to a certain degree. But I would like to see that. I would like to see a long neck plesiosaur. I would like to see probably something like Dinochirus.
Me too.
I would like to see a large, well done Allosaurus.
Did you saw the one in that short movie that came out a couple years ago?
That's not no for me.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are so many. I could sit here and tell you. I mean, I have a really bad time picking favorite things because
it's hard.
I change my mind a lot. So one day I might be, wanting to see something, and then the next day I want to see something else.
So if the idea of de-extincting these Mesozoic animals was real, and companies were producing like pets that you could purchase made from the genetic material of an extinct Mesozoic animal, what do you think would be your ideal Mesozoic pet?
Well, people always ask me that, and I am not gonna pick for me, and this is a personal preference. I am not the person that is gonna pick like these giant dinosaurs that everyone wants to see. I probably will go back to the Triassic first and foremost because I have a big love for Triassic reptiles in particular, because that was such a weird time, and you saw so many weird experiments at that point. So I would probably have to do. I would probably have to do something like Tanistropheus, or like that long neck, or Longisquama, or Longisquama is that lizard-like
with the spines on the back that kind of flare out. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, there's so many. Shringasaurus, that is that thing that had horns and looked like a hybrid between a giant turtle and a triceratops.
Yeah, Drepanosaur would probably be my Triassic pick.
Yeah, any Drepanosaur, because they're all weird and amazing.
They're all weird.
So yeah, definitely I would have to do something like that. And from dinosaur, I would love to see something like Yichi or Ambopteryx, because yes, I would like to see, and also I would like to see any pterosaur, because pterosaurs
Yeah.
are all amazing. And talking about
Their
Jurassic Park,
pterosaurs are the worst.
yes, I think that for me they are the worst thing that they have ever done in Jurassic Park are the pterosaurs, especially.
Pterosaurs are almost my favorite. So, and that's kind of part of the reason why I felt compelled to make this podcast is just the injustices that they've done to pterosaurs alone in these newer movies.
Yes. In particular, Dimorphodon. Dimorphodon in particular is particularly bad.
And it's crazy because we've known about Quetzalcoatlus and the Adzarchids for so long, and yet they'd rather double down on killer seagulls than embrace, a giraffe-sized ambush predator that could fly.
And for me, there were so many anatomical inaccuracies with the Dimorphodon in particular that was one of the ones that I remember saying, "Oh, I really cannot, see these movies anymore," because I felt like they were not really even making an effort,
No.
in saying like, "Oh, I'm going to try to reconstruct this somehow similar to the actual animal," and these things look nothing like you would imagine a Dimorphodon look like. So I was super disappointed by the Dimorphodon, and I remember at that time I said like, "Oh, I cannot see them anymore."
Yeah, my heart sank in the movie theater when I saw that scene, because not only were these animals just acting like the birds or gremlins or something, just inexplicably attacking a bunch of mall goers, but they just looked like leathery gremlins. I felt like I was watching Gremlins 3. I felt more like Gremlins 3 than a Jurassic movie. They just didn't feel like they put any effort whatsoever into making these animals and not just gremlins.
Yeah, they didn't look anything like Dimorphodon in any way, shape, or form. Not the head, not the body, nothing. So I was like, yeah, I cannot. No, I couldn't respect the Dimorphodon. I think the Dimorphodon was the thing that did it for me.
Yeah.
With the other things, you go like, okay, whatever. I still have very fond memories of in the first Jurassic Park film, the scene where they see the Brachiosaurus for the first time, and that is one of the best scenes ever for me.
Absolutely.
And I think for many years I gave the Jurassic Park franchise a pass because I have so many fond memories of that scene and the first movie. But when you get to see stuff like the Dimorphodon, it's like, oh, they're not even trying anymore. This is just, let me just put like a flying gremlin, like you say.
Yeah. Well, here's hoping that they manage to pull it together. I'm really cautiously optimistic that they can do better, and they will do better moving forward.
That's one thing. When you ask me what I would like to see, I would also like to see a well-done pterosaur that is covered in pycnofibers, and it's a nice-looking animal, and you can do it.
Have you ever seen the original animatronic that they built for the Pteranodon for The Lost World? It's covered in pycnofibers.
Oh,
have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, the first Pteranodon they ever did for the movies was completely covered in pycnofibers. And then they just left that and went for toothed, leathery gremlins, basically.
I want to know why. I mean, there's definitely somebody said, this is not scary, we cannot do this, right? That's what I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, that's definitely going on. I mean, their baryonyx in the last movie just looked like a mutated soar crocodile or something.
Yeah, it had many inaccuracies as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, Gabriel, thank you so much for your time. I cannot thank you enough. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm sorry it took so long to schedule the call and everything, but it's been.
No, I totally understand. I have nothing but gratitude for you sharing your time with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed our chat with Gabriel. He's truly as talented as he is kind, and I'm very, very honored to have had him on the show. Now, before we conclude this episode, it is time for Jurassic Fantasies. Joining us today is Dakota Morgan. A few months back, I was listening to the much-loved Jurassic Park podcast and was blown away by an incredibly deep dive from Dakota into the history of Stan Winston's incredible Rex from Jurassic Park. At this point in my life, it's not often I learn too much I didn't already know about the Jurassic franchise, but Dakota actually had quite a bit of info I was utterly oblivious to. Eventually, an extended video version of our chat will be uploaded to YouTube, but until then, here's the slightly abridged audio from our chat.
Thank you for bringing me on the show, though, by the way, because I've been listening to the show since you've announced it. Well, following the show. And then I've been listening since you dropped the first episode.
Yeah.
Awesome work, my man.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like it.
Of course. Oh, dude. It's something where I'm like, I've wanted this show. I didn't know I wanted this show until I've listened.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm hoping some people like it. I mean, it's a difficult needle to thread because it's about the possibilities of a Jurassic World and the dinosaurs as animals. So to reference anything that would happen, it would have to be pertaining to animals that are living today, you know, to actually get real science out of it. And then it's speculative. So, you know, the audience would be Jurassic fans, but you need to make sure that it's Jurassic enough and it's animal enough and it's science enough and it's entertaining enough, you know, so it's a lot of different things to juggle, I find.
Well, yes, but it works. That's the thing, though. It's like, Jurassic fans were science filled, I think. Like most of us are, at least should be.
There's a good number of them that are, but then I've learned that there are many that aren't at all.
Really? Not like they're not like they don't like the science at all or anything like that?
It's not that they don't like it. It's just I just don't think they're particularly curious about it, I think is what it is.
I mean, it makes sense because this one, it is entertainment. So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. What? I got to ask you a question though, sir. Why would you like me on the podcast? Like I reached out and whatnot, and I was like, yeah, I'd like to give what I thought about Jurassic and jazz like that up on the show. But
there's a couple reasons. One is that I loved your contribution to the Jurassic Park podcast.
Yay. Thank you for that.
I thought like that was really, really rad. Like you had so much, and I know like a lot of shit, and there was a lot of shit that I had no clue about in that. And that's rare for that to happen for me. And it was really well done. And I was really impressed. So that's number one. And number two, again, this podcast is about animals as much as it's about dinosaurs or Jurassic. And I mean, you're around animals and animal husbandry and care all the time. So,
say the least.
So so it seems like you're the right kind of person to talk to about this kind of stuff.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Also, by the way, I turned in a couple more things. I think one or two more things to Brad for the Jurassic Park podcast. So there's a couple more of those segments coming.
Coming down. Yeah, I know they took a break for February.
Yeah. I'm giving shout out to Brad to be like, hey, it's in the pipeline. But yeah, man, no, that's one part I love about it. And working, I mean, I'm looking up and there's a picture of a cobra that I virtually adopted and care for on the weekends, man. I look up and it's right there, like on my wall in front of me. I mean, in the back, I don't know, my chair's blocking it. I have like all this animal stuff and fossils, like.
I mean, I see a rhino calendar and a bunch of stuff.
WWF calendar and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've worked with dinosaurs, prehistoric creatures, and living animals, man. And reptiles and birds. Much as I don't hate birds, but they hate me.
Well, birds are difficult. They're my favorite, actually.
They're your favorite? It depends which bird. Like, I've met a vulture, sweet as hell, 75 years old, threw up on me after I took care of it for a little bit, which means they love me, so that's fine.
Yeah.
That smelled so bad. This smells so horrid. It was just mouse guts. But yeah, man, like animals, I think that's what I really love about the podcast, NeoJurassic World, is because that's true. Like, there is so much with it, and animal caretaking is, get more to the mic, it's an experience, and I think I wouldn't be here in it without Jurassic. I'll put that out there.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's start there. So for me, like I've been obsessed with animals my entire life. Mm-hmm. And then when Jurassic came out, I'm like, oh wow, this movie's about animals kind of owning people in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Which is part of why I love it. But at the root of it, my love for dinosaurs and Jurassic is about animals, and this movie franchise is about animals and our relationship with them. So I think that's really cool, and I think it's part of what captures people's love and imagination with the series. How did your relationship to Jurassic start exactly?
My relationship to Jurassic started a long time ago, kids listening to the podcast, called a VHS.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I feel old. But yeah, it started with VHS when I was a kid. And I don't remember the first time I watched Jurassic Park. I remember watching it a billion times on the VHS tape. People are gonna hate me for this, but I remember watching Jurassic Park 3 a lot too.
Oh,
I that did it in for me, I think, was Jurassic Park 3.
It's short and sweet, and it's got like dino beats like every couple of minutes, you know.
Yeah.
So it's good. Yeah.
And Lost World too, like it started with that. I mean, Giant Monsters started me in general with stuff, 98 Godzilla cartoon. And then I'm like, dinosaurs, that's the same thing, right? And it's like, no, it's not. But
yeah.
And then I dove into dinosaurs and started to work with them. Paleo stuff when I was a kid, going to back when you could do group gatherings, do big stuff with that, with presentations and jazz, working at a museum and jazz. So Jurassic started with VHS.
Yeah.
Continuously watching. I remember there wouldn't be a day I wouldn't watch it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
If I didn't watch it, I mean, I got the toys. There was 1 or 2 toy lines after Jurassic Park 3 line that was out. It was Jurassic Park dinosaurs, and that's when I started really getting more. I'm like, I can have the dinosaurs. Like, I gotta to my right. You can't see it, but to my right, there's like shelves of Jurassic toys. And it's never changed because it's got so many new ones. That's where mine started. I think was VHS and
VHS.
Yeah, VHS tapes and Giant Monsters is where it started, man.
And what's your relationship to it now these days?
Strong. I mean, like we just talked about the Jurassic Park podcast and doing a segment on there. So these days it's very strong. I know some people are falling out these days with it, but for me personally, it's very strong still. Like I watch the movies continuously. I watch clips every now and then. I'll go on the treadmill. If I'm not watching Critical Role, I'm watching Jurassic Park clips. This is how it goes.
What's Critical Role? What's that?
The D&D YouTube channel that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're awesome. They love them so much. But off topic. No, yeah, it's still strong to this day. Like I still do stuff with dinosaurs as much as I can. I do dinosaur YouTube channel we talked about, Dino Time. Well, it's a show on my YouTube channel, Dino Times and Jurassic Decks. Like people need that. It's very strong. I still collect toys. Mattel does a great job, so I'm still collecting. So I would say stronger than ever. It's never.
Yeah.
It did die down though.
Well, I mean, how could it not? Because there was like a period of time where there's just literally nothing going on.
Yeah, I was stupid and thought girls mattered more. And then I'm like, hey, humanity's is terrible. I don't need any of this. So it's like, I mean, I'm going to stick with animals, dinosaurs, and comics for a little while here until I grow old. My girlfriend's going to kill me for saying that. But yeah, no, she loves him still. Oh, I love her. But no, it's strong, man. It's very strong.
And so you work with animals now. What has your trajectory been with that exactly?
Well, somewhat backstory first. I feel like Kevin Smith. I talk a lot. But backstory first is it was started in film. I still do film work stuff a lot as well and working in the arts. And I was going to retire working with animals. COVID happened. And then I went from working at a zoo where I was part-time working with the animals and custodial jazz and working on the zoo ground, all sorts of jazz.
Yeah.
Working with some crazy animals, crazy stories there. And I was like, I want to work with animals, right? And Jurassic, when you work at a zoo and you're a Jurassic Park fan, dream come true. Dream come true. You find out there's a lot more breakouts than usual, but
there's a lot more what?
Breakouts than you think. It's there's a good amount. There's a good amount. And it started with that and working with animals. I'm like, yeah, COVID happened. I was like, okay, I just want to work with animals and I'm going to do art stuff still, do as much as I can. But I think really the best course is with animals. And I'm still doing film, still doing a bunch of stuff like that. But then it's like, well, I work in an animal hospital oncology center with dogs, cats, and they have exotics they take care of there in 102. And I work with them full time. But it's
so specifically it's animal oncology and also exotics.
Okay. Well, they have a couple exotics there that we care for and jazz. But and then my forte though is exotics in general.
Yeah,
I got to pay the bills. But it's exotics in general, so that's why I work at a volunteer reptile sanctuary right now. So I go there once a week, sometimes twice, and work with alligators, crocodilians, snakes, lizards of all sorts, any types of reptile, and some mammals too. Like I hugged was it last night as of this recording? I hugged a otter for the first time. That was fun.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. So Jurassic, I wouldn't be in it without Jurassic, and the zoo as well too. And just going forward with that, like I've trajectory work at a zoo full time while still working in comic books and jazz too.
Yeah. Did you go to school for any type of animal husbandry sort of thing, or did you just volunteered your way into it?
No, I started volunteering when I was 8 at a museum in my hometown in Illinois.
Yeah.
Now closed, sadly. But I was 8 years old working with snakes and bearded dragons and bugs and all sorts of jazz. So I've been volunteering since then. And I don't know, school. I've done school work for stuff, but nothing for animal husbandry, actually, no.
Okay, cool. And I see, like, you have like resident parrots where you work, right?
Yeah.
It seems like
we have resident parrots. We have a macaw. It's nice. A macaw.
Did you say? Did I see a galah there once though?
A galah? What?
A rose-breasted cockatoo. Did I?
Oh
see
yes. That's raspberry. Yeah, he's a butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have lots of cuts in my hands right now and arms. From him. But yeah. I got some birds there as well. Yeah.
They're
fun.
Yeah. What kind of macaw is it? A scarlet, a green wing? What is it? I don't remember.
Oh,
it's a scarlet. Yeah. How's the temperament on the scarlet?
Some days are good, some days are bad. It's really how. I mean, that's most animals, though. I have really good days with an anaconda. I have really bad days with an anaconda. Or we have or a skink. If it's not all the time bad, some days is. You know what? We all have those days.
Yeah, it's just like people. Like,
yeah,
no different, really.
It's very true. But yeah, man, I love it though. Animal husbandry is amazing. It's pretty great.
As someone, that has a deep love of animals and animal husbandry and film and comics and all this stuff where Jurassic really intersects like kind of perfectly, what would you like to see in the future? What would your ideal fantasy? What would you like to see most in the future of the Jurassic franchise? And that could be anything.
Anything?
Yeah, literally anything. It could be a theme park ride, a toy, a movie series, a film series, a television series, a book, a novel, a comic series, a bedspread. Tropical fruit punch drink, like anything.
I listen. You and I both are part of the groups on Facebook. We both know there's a lot of bedspreads. there's a lot. Yeah, I go to a Target and I see a lot, and I'm like, do I get it? Do I not? I don't know.
I know.
But there. What am I hoping for the most? Honestly, as a writer and full-time paleo lover in jazz, go extended lore. That's my hope. I love extended lore and stuff. If you expand the universe, because if you build a world and you focus on a certain amount of characters, not that great, right? We love them. I love Grant. Trust me, I do. And Sattler. I'm getting that Sattler Amber figure when it comes out. But extended lore is what I want to see more of. More Camp Cretaceous, more books, definitely more video games.
Yeah.
More extended lore, maybe toy lines and jazz too with that. Maybe put lore in the toys. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Comics, definitely comics. No drug lords in them this time, but more comics.
I really like the '90s series.
Which one? The one where it's the mad scientist and the mini clones? Like he had miniature dinosaurs? Because there's a couple '90s.
Yeah, I mean, there was it was so long since I read them. But I liked the one with the gorillas and the raptors and the mini ones. And then I have a vague memory of like a Jurassic Park story where there's a ferret that the T-Rex smells or something. There's like a whole bunch of weird shit that
was like the investor. Thank God for Clayton Fierity, by the way, because I caught up on all those comics that way.
Yeah.
That was the investor. Like, that was cool. Like a book where it's the investor, because where do they get the money? Jay Hammond can't afford it all. So
exactly.
The investor comes in, the girl with the ferret, or the cleanup of Isla Nublar with the green flame, where I still want to know more about. And the military cleaning it all up. Being like, hey, we got a quarantine. Like, it makes sense. I have a fly going around, so if you see a little thing going around, there's a fly I cannot kill. I love insects, but I would murder all of them. So all the flies shall die. Yeah. No, I'm extended lore, though, for me, man. Extremely extended lore.
Is there a particular story that you would be interested in seeing?
There's two.
Yeah.
There's very much two. And they're prequels.
Yeah.
One,
this animal loves you.
I've already hit it 3 times this
The
far.
animal love has been reciprocated. Very
no,
deeply.
the bug love is strongly
Yeah,
disagreements.
yeah.
The bugs do not like me that much, mostly because I feed a lot of crickets to animals.
Yeah.
But I want to see the storyline I want to see is we're gonna get all the after Fallen Kingdom, right?
Yeah.
I think what we need to see is more of the building a Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And then the building a Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I think those two, there's untapped potential. There's the
especially with Jurassic World, because there's a lot
Yes.
more people involved, and
Yes.
there's a lot more room for a story there.
We have it in the websites, like DPG and jazz like that, but
Mhm.
why make a movie, make a comic of it? If you make a comic just up, they were going to a motion comic and they never did it for the Woo's return to Jurassic Park after the incident.
Yeah.
No, we know a little bit of what happens in there, but I really want to see the building of Jurassic World. You know, the capturing of Rexy. What was Nublar like? What was Sorna like? The transportation of the animals.
Yeah.
All that jazz. Like, there's so much. There's all that. I know people want to say the 10 years of Jurassic World is open. Be okay. That'd be a good a comic series, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like a good Parks and Rec series, I think.
Oh my god. No,
no.
Wait. I'm gonna say no because they keep trying to do that and it never works.
Wait, have you seen the Jurassic World the ride here in LA? The video that they made for it?
No, I haven't been out there to see that. I've only the last time I saw it was still Jurassic Park. I've not seen Jurassic World yet.
Okay, so the best part for me in that ride is they did a like a Parks and Rec version of Jurassic World when it was opening, with like a whole cast of people working at Jurassic World, including Claire and Owen.
Really?
And it's actually really well done. It's extremely good. It's really good. It's on YouTube. You can look at it. It's pretty funny. I would like to see that. I think that would be a fun way to do that kind of thing.
You could do it. I mean, there's so many. I'm gonna kill this fly. There's so many workers that are there. I mean, to get. I mean, if people see this video, it's gonna be hilarious. it's gonna be hilarious. I just hate it. Oh god. It went into my mouth. Revenge.
Oh, kamikaze.
Oh. That's some content for you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of workers in Jurassic World. There's a lot of workers in Jurassic World. And they keep everything going. You're right. That would be fun.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's so many dinosaurs there too. I mean, there's so many Camp Cretaceous proved like the Agro Carnotaurus pin with all of them in it. Like, what's that about? Like, there's a story there, you know? Like
totally, yeah.
Oh, there's so much to it. There's so much you can do.
Yeah. What is there a prehistoric animal that you've been waiting to see show up in Jurassic?
Yeah, I honestly, and it's a sauropod actually.
Yeah,
it's a sauropod. I love all the ones we have in there now. I really, really do. But the one I want to see in there is the Amargasaurus, the sauropod, medium-sized sauropod with spikes on its neck and whatnot. I really want to see that guy in there.
I was kind of into Amargasaurus, but now that Bahatosaurus exists, I've got no time for Amargasaurus. Bahatosaurus is way cooler.
Bahato's the cousin, the '90s cool cousin. Is what that is. It's like, because he's got like, I know. Watch, they're the same thing. As soon as we get done with this recording, the paper comes out, and they're like, "Oh, we just made a mistake. Same dinosaur." And like, oh man, that's how that works usually. No, that's awesome, man. Like
I love that thing.
So cool.
I'm not super crazy about sauropods, unfortunately. I'm sure at some point my life will get really into them, but it hasn't happened yet. But Bahatosaurus is just so gnarly. I love it.
It's true. Oh, it's so true. You know, there's one, though, fans may agree with this. Tyrannus.
Yeah?
That's a perfect reason for a feathered Rex.
Yeah.
I would work.
That would be pretty rad.
But yeah, no, I think Amargasaurus is mine. Listen, you can love the punk guy all you want. I know, I understand, but that's mine. I really want to see him in.
Yeah. And so my relationship with animals was my family owned an exotic pet store when I was growing up.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah, so I've been around exotic animals my whole life. If you could have any de-extincted pet, what would it be?
You ask the hard questions, man. Oh my lord. any genus of anything like mammal,
anything.
reptilian. There's no drawbacks.
There's no restriction for you to discover. You know,
that's valid. That's tough. That's very tough. You know what? If I had money, if I had money, it would probably be a sauropod. No, Triceratops.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Triceratops. That would be a good one. No one's gonna mess with it. You know, what poacher's gonna want to go mess with it? Like they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm good, buddy.
Yeah.
If I don't have, if current financial situation, Protoceratops.
Yeah.
Protoceratops, miniature enough, perfectly fine, herbivorous, nice to handle. I want a carnivore of a sorts.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that would work. Like I'd be a lot of money.
Okay, but thinking about the beaks of both Protoceratops and Triceratops, and then think about your relationship with the galah, or the rose-breasted cockatoo.
I still think I just saw the fly. He still lives. But valid. Yeah. Very valid. Very valid. Let me take a look over here. You know what? I'm like looking at the collection of stuff right now. You know what? No, I'm gonna take my answer back then because you're making a very, very compelling case. Yeah, I'm gonna choose the Parasaurolophus. Yeah, I'm gonna choose a Perry. I'm gonna choose a Perry. I think that one would actually be a lot more chill.
Yeah, I love the hadrosaurs. I think they're so beautiful and elegant and chill looking.
They deserve more love. They deserve so much more love. I mean,
absolutely.
You really convinced me, by the way, because I was like, you know what? It's a valid point, and that beak will definitely hurt my hand. A lot more. Very valid. That's gonna do a lot more damage. Perry. Yeah, hadrosaurs deserve more love, do they not?
I think so. Like a lot more love. I mean, I know it's kind of lame to be really into the big version of whatever it is, but Shantungosaurus is just crazy to me. Oh, the fly's back.
Yeah, he still lives.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, yeah, man, that's now I want one. Is the problem. Yeah. Well, in fairness though, I do write a dinosaur comic for SUGS Comics. One of them is Saurian Preserve. And the Perrys have been a big part of that, actually. So yeah, that's cool.
I'm so confused as to why there aren't. Well, I mean, there's enough dinosaur video games. There aren't enough dinosaur comics. There aren't. I mean, there's really just like Jurassic just kind of owns everything dinosaur, and no one else can do anything else dinosaur. Is what it seems like.
Yeah, but they're trying. I mean, we have art.
Other people. Yeah,
we have a few. There is. There's a lot of dinosaur video games we do get now are dinosaur survival games, like the Isle and stuff like that, which is fun. But when we have more and more of those, it's not as fun anymore.
Yeah.
We do need more comics, though. We do need
for
a lot more comics.
My boyfriend is a comic maniac and an illustrator and all that. And so like this room is like filled with comics at the whole house actually. But
fair, valid.
Yeah. I go to comic book stores all the time. I never really got into comics myself. And I just spend my whole time while he's looking at comics just looking for anything dinosaur in there. Just like looking and looking and looking and looking and looking. And there's not really anything. Occasionally you get some like big, vaguely theropodish looking predator thing that shows up somewhere, but that's it.
Yeah, there's
then Paper Girls has Quetzalcoatlus and some other
They do.
predators in it. Yeah.
God, I love that series so much. There is Age of Reptiles, I think is the name. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's not really happening now, and I never see it.
It's rare. Oh, it's so rare.
Yeah,
I had a
it.
couple. I'm trying to think. What else is there? There's Jurassic comics, but those get weird.
Oh, man. Those IDW ones were horrific.
Oh, the one where what's his face? I know my credit's going down. Not Lowry. Hammond's cousin.
I didn't read them. I saw like sections of them and was like, oh, this is not for me.
No, yeah. What is his name? It's not Lowry. I'm having a brain fart.
Ludlow?
There we go.
He came back from the dead, right?
Yeah, he was alive. And he's like, I scrolled away. Like, Emperor Palpatine did. He's like, I lived. Like, no, get out of here. Yeah, you're dead. You are extremely eaten, sir. There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. The one where they're on the mainland, though, dinosaurs on the mainland was pretty good. That was actually kind of neat. The pteranodons was interesting though.
I'm really sensitive about pterosaurs and the way they've been used in the Jurassic movies, so I don't like that as much. Yeah, but I wonder why they haven't done more with that. It seems like, I mean, at least Universal now is like kind of trying to catch up and do some stuff, you know. But I'll be curious to see what happens in the near future.
We were supposed to be getting those, remember?
I don't really. I do remember hearing something about it.
4 years ago, we were supposed to get comics, so Jurassic World.
I mean, if I had $1 for every time something was announced for Jurassic World and then never materialized, it would be a lot.
FX was supposed to do a live-action TV show a long time ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were. That was confirmed to be happening, and it never happened.
I never heard about that.
Yeah.
What is your favorite of the Jurassic media properties, of the films?
Oh, of the films?
Yeah.
Like I said, you asked the toughies. Like, you really do. Film-wise, it's toss-up. I don't know if I can ever choose. I love Jurassic World because it reinvented everything and continued what we love. So that was good. And we got more stuff from it. Obviously, Jurassic Park, I love. Favorite. Part of me says Lost World. Part of me says Lost World. I can never choose. Yeah. That's the problem, is I can never. I like Fallen Kingdom too. I know it's blasphemy to say that, but I liked Fallen Kingdom a lot.
I actually really love Fallen Kingdom. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a good movie, but I do really have a lot of love for it.
Yeah, it's Jurassic fans, like, we love it. We just choose to not acknowledge it, but it's some unknown reason. But yeah, no, honestly, it's an impossible question. Like, I love.
Yeah.
It's a toss up between first Lost World and Jurassic World.
Yeah.
That's where it is for me.
Okay.
That's where it is.
All right. Well, cool. Well, Dakota, thank you so much for participating in this and sharing your time with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Of course. It's an honor to be on the show, and whatever you take from this, I don't know, but I love the show. I really do. Like, it check marks everything as science and everything like that. So it's a pleasure, man. When you reached out to be like, hey, people want to come on, I'm like, yeah, sure, if you want me on, I'll come on. Yeah, let's do it. And it's like, oh yeah, let's come on. All right. No problem at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad you did, and I can't wait to hear your upcoming segments on the Jurassic Park podcast. That last one was just really rad.
Yeah, there's a couple that are going to be interesting. One or may not be a pterosaur coming up that I got to record, so we'll see.
Sweet.
We'll see.
Sweet.
Thank you, man. Though.
Yeah.
Any final things you want to ask or anything?
No, I think that's just about everything.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, man. Oh, can I plug away real fast?
Plug away.
Sweet, thank you. Everyone out there, hey, if you guys want to follow me and follow the animal stuff I do, dinosaur stuff I do and whatnot, at Dakota Morgan 3 on Twitter, at Dakota_Morgan 97 on Instagram, and all the links to everything I do is on there, and YouTube Dakota Morgan for more dinosaur shows if you want to, which we need more. Sweet. So yes,
a lot more. Yeah,
we do. Oh man, we need more dinosaur shows.
All right. Well, thank you again, Dakota. Give my love to your flying friend.
I will. They'll take the love.
Yeah. And I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
All right. Bye. Thanks for your time.
Well, this concludes this episode of the NeoJurassic podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed it. By the way, be sure to follow the show on your preferred social media platform, as there will be more NeoJurassic content being churned out in the weeks and months ahead. You can find NeoJurassic on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and soon, Patreon. Until next time, bye.